I was actually hoping or suspecting an ADHD diagnosis. Autism had been mentioned, and I worked with autistic adults for 6 years back in the UK, so I know the variants on the spectrum. I know how difficult life can be, and deep down, even though I knew, it was still a shock, and I went through a grieving process. And you know, when they told me, I felt like somebody punched me in the chest. And I walked out and I was like, what do I do now? And I spent probably 2 days licking my wounds, and then I'm like, right, this is my son, this is my child. If he can function independently in the world, I've done my job. And that was my goal, that was my mission, and I was going to get there however I could. And I found Mendability. He's been on a restricted diet since he was just past 1. I took him to a herbalist, but it didn't really gel with us, so we only went once. And then this usual speech therapy, occupational therapy, and you know, child behavioural specialists, psychologists, things like that. But what did interest me was he had no sense of smell at all. He just couldn't smell anything, and now he actively, like, Mummy, let's smell the flowers. Like, we have to go in the supermarket and go and pick up the different colour flowers and smell them all and things, but there was nothing. And when I mentioned it to occupational therapy, they didn't seem concerned. It was weird, and it was, you know, doing these strange little exercises. You think, oh, is he doing it right? Am I helping him? Is it enough if he's not doing it exactly like the videos that they're showing me? Like, you know, so I looked on the forum, I spoke to my coach, and, you know, as long as he's not getting stressed out, let's just go with it. If we need to tweak it or change it, just do it. And within days, he started to change. The first thing that happened was he was calmer at bedtime, and he woke up and he wasn't crying or screaming. That was the first thing. That was within 2 days. So it wasn't like, Mom, and nothing. It was just, I'm awake, I'm singing to myself in bed, I'm happy. And he was just happier all day. His speech got clearer. So instead of Mum, come sit, it was, Mummy, come sit over here and play with my bus. Like, that was within 30 days. You know, that's a big difference. And he got discharged from speech therapy within the first 30 days. She said she doesn't need to see us anymore. Dain's speech has come on so much, it's clearer. He knows, he can say words and phrases that kids in grade 1 can't say. There was no need for speech therapy anymore. So we'd spent 20 months in speech therapy. And, you know, he'd got to maybe 3 or 4 word sentences that I would say maybe 4 or 5 people could understand everything that he said, to everybody understands him, and he doesn't stop talking anymore. He said yes when I asked him a question. Instead of always no, you say, do you want a hug, or do you want a bath, do you want to go play outside? Everything was no. Not anymore. He would say, oh, yes. And that's such a strange thing, but he never ever said yes before. He actually played with another child. Not parallel play, not one kid in one corner, one kid in another. They played together. You know, he wouldn't actively, like, sort of like, hey, come run over here, or come on, let's go down the slide, or, you know, let's run around this way. Nothing. It was his own agenda. He used to get frustrated a lot. He wouldn't speak clearly. He struggled to communicate. He was headbutting the floor, the walls. He was bashing his head. He would rock a lot, you know, and headbutt the wall backwards in bed. Things like that, you know. He wasn't happy. And I used to get quite stressed because I didn't know how to deal with it. And then you get the look from the parents, you know what it's like. You see, I mean, I've shouted all sorts of things at people in restaurants that have, you know, told me to, you know, give that kid a good smack round the head and things like that. And I printed some business cards up explaining Dain's diagnosis, so I could get him to give them to him so that I didn't have to be that crazy woman every time somebody said something about my child. It wasn't a difficult process for me. It was like, my son needs help. I've been told his brain has plasticity and he needs exercises to help that. This is offering me custom exercises for that. Perfect. It's not always easy. Sometimes, you know, you can't be bothered and you just think, oh God, I'm running late. But then you just think it's a few minutes every single day. It's just a few minutes. And if this means that my child can live in his own home, get a job, get married, have children, really, is it that much to give up? I am organised. I mean, I have my morning routine and it's just part of it. So, you know, I get up in the morning and I make his lunch and I get his breakfast ready and I get him out of bed and we do the exercises and he has his breakfast and I get him dressed and I take him to daycare and I go to work. It's just how it unfolds. And then after his bath, we'll do it in the evening. And then in his bedtime routine, we go lay down, we do the bear crawls and you know, the bear scratching on his back, and we sing songs and do the alphabet and his numbers and look at pictures on my phone, because now we've done the picture exercise where he was saying who everybody was. He wants to look at more and more pictures, so we're, you know, scrolling through, and of course there's oils in his bedroom. So it's just part of a normal day. You know, Dain says it's exercise time. I hope to just keep progressing at this rate. Like, I did put a lot of work in with Dain, with lots of different therapies and things, and nothing fitted together. It was like I was just putting random dots everywhere in his head, and nothing was working. Mendability is just joining them all up. Every single one is coming together. He's going to be potty trained soon, and that's going to be because of Mendability. I would say, if you could do anything to help your child sit better, be calm, get potty trained, speak better or speak at all, not run off. You know, if somebody told you there was something that could help with things like that, would you try it? Because I did, and it's helping, and it's working. I know people talk about there's no cure for autism and this is, you know, I don't need to fix my child, accept his diagnosis. I accept his diagnosis. I don't care that he's autistic. He's still the same child he was when I gave birth to him. He's my son and I love him. But if I can make his life less stressful and easier to deal with, isn't that what every single parent does for every single child?